Tim, good to see you. And it looks as though you changed location.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I actually had to do the reverse Pliskin back into New York City. I think you get the reference on that one, right? I mean, the
reverse Pliskin, Snake Pliskin. So you escaped to New York.
That's right. That's right. I snuck in last night with the family. It's almost as we had to break into our apartment to check on some, to get some resources and reload before slipping out of Dodge. By the way, I mean, Snake Plissken and Escape from New York, truly, I mean, think of the cast of characters in there. Not only did we have the ever vivacious Adrienne Barbeau, but I mean, how about an Ernest Borgnine
sure.
as a
cabbie?
Cabbie.
I mean, he was just cabbie. I mean, he was an Academy Award winner, I think, in the '60s, and he played cabbie. And now you mentioned Adrienne Barbeau. Do you know what? And I know I shouldn't ask you.
Swamp Thing.
No, actually, her really claim to fame was the daughter in the sitcom Maude.
Wow,
Maude.
That's a deep pull.
And as you know, Maude lived, I believe, in New Rochelle, which is sort of your stomping ground. So I brought it full circle for you.
That's nice, and I really admired Barbeau's work, so to speak. But as we talk about Kurt Russell, I mean, was Snake Plissken? Well, first of all, Kurt Russell's best work was Miracle. I mean, hands down. That movie, he played Herb Brooks. For those of you who are not following this story, obviously the head coach of the Miracle on Ice hockey team, and Herb was such a badass that Kurt's ability to bring that out in the role, I have to say, that was one of those movies that, despite knowing the outcome and despite seeing it 3 times, I cry every time I watch that movie, especially if I'm on a plane and I've had a couple cocktails. So FYI.
I mean, the emotional guy, and I like that.
Crazy.
No, he nailed the role, no question. Of course, I'm more apt to watch him in like the Wyatt Earp role that he portrayed.
Yeah, nice work.
But I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. I think, to me, the unsung hero of Escape from New York,
the Brain.
Well, the Brain, Harry Dean Stanton, right?
Where are you getting that?
Of Red Dawn fame. He was the father. He was Patrick Swayze's father in that. No, Lee Van Cleef playing just a total badass. Now, you mentioned the faux badasses. Lee Van Cleef was a badass, no matter what.
Lee Van Cleef was a badass. Isaac Hayes was in that movie.
Sure.
And by the way, the Brain's best work was in Repo Man. And I digress with Emilio Estevez. And also, as we talk about Kurt Russell, obviously people think of Kurt and Goldie. What we have to do this week, if not next week, is I want to go Hollywood couples that really lost a step or two or a couple miles an hour on the fastball. So I'm talking about Kurt and Goldie. I'm talking about Antonio and Melanie. I'm talking about Don Johnson and Melanie. I'm talking about John Cougar and Meg Ryan. But anyway, let's.
Wow, I mean, you got a lot going on there.
Well, let's get on with it.
Sort of tie up the ribbon on this thing.
Yeah.
The real life president, Donald J. Trump, was talking about he's been taking hydrochloroquine, dropping them like Junior Mints. I'm going somewhere here, by the way. He made that statement 2 hours ago. Mazel tov, number one. Number two, the president in Escape from New York was the great Donald Pleasance, who also appeared in The Great Escape. But I mentioned Junior Mints because if you're jonesing for a Junior Mint, Tim, I know where I have to go. You got to go to the Walmart because they got everything in the Walmart. And as it turns out, they report this week. What do you think about WMT right here?
I'm glad we're finally getting to some market stuff, although I have to tell you, I'm a York Peppermint Patty guy more than a Junior Mint. But if I go to the movies, I'm getting the Junior Mints. Walmart, to me, at 25 times earnings is well in excess of a market multiple relative to the S&P at a time when I think that their core audience, their core shopper, their core consumer is struggling with unemployment. And once these CARES checks burn through, and I think the reality of an unfortunate economic landscape in the United States, Walmart it's not an Amazon play. It doesn't deserve an Amazon multiple, despite Flipkart in India and significant growth in their online business. And kudos to them. And obviously, Walmart is the the price force upon the industry. They're not a price taker. They're actually pushing prices upon the industry, and they're forcing folks like Target and Costco to actually follow their lead. I do think they should be leading on price, but that's not necessarily where the margins are made. And when I look at some of the excess pulled forward revenues by Walmart, a lot of it was in food and pantry stock. That's very low margin items. So I get it's been a good time for Walmart, and I'm not saying that the stock even sells off on those numbers. It wouldn't surprise me if, in fact, we got surprising, called stabilization of revenues into April, and they're actually seeing some signs of just that. But that's not a reason to go chase Walmart at this multiple. And to me, Junior Mints or your Peppermint Patties or Almond Joy or Mounds, I think if you look at the stock, that there are essentially 2 Mounds in Walmart. We're back up near those highs. I would be selling here.
It's funny. I mean, I should probably not say this, but it's funny you mentioned 2 Mounds, talking about Adrienne Barbeau
Stop
a
it,
few minutes
please.
ago.
Keep moving.
But again, I digress. So let me just say this, and I'm sort of with you on this. I mean, Walmart at 25 times next year's earnings. You're talking about a company that has about an 8.6% EPS growth rate. So the multiple is ridiculous. Razor thin margins, yet the stock, which closed, I think, today around 129, is probably going to make a new high, an all-time high, north of 133. So that's fine. Just understand what you're paying for here, because you're paying up for this property. And
okay, so you're, yeah.
I know I'm with you. And on top of that, this rhetoric with China, which is not going away, as a matter of fact, given today's market move to the upside, might just embolden President Trump more, is not positive for Walmart. So, if you've enjoyed the ride, go get them, but just understand what you're in WMT.
And here's another one we don't talk about quickly on our way out here. Best Buy reports on Thursday. I've often ridiculed you or said you're the guy sitting on the couch, that leather couch in Best Buy, watching the TVs on a Sunday afternoon, not buying anything. Meanwhile, they actually have been one of the biggest recipients of this CARES package. It's essentially been a sugar rush that meant people were going straight to Best Buy to buy a new TV. I actually think that if you look at their year-over-year e-commerce business, it's up 250%. That's great stuff. Best Buy is back up near all-time highs. And that's pretty extraordinary, because it was a $44 stock. It's now up near 80 off of those lows. I think you have to fade this one going into these numbers. Your call.
I think you're right, given the move. I mean, if you hadn't, listen, it's a great company, but the volatility in the stock is just do a little Google search and see the way the stock moves over the last couple of years. It's remarkable. The ups and downs have been crazy. I'm with you. Faded into earnings. This has been fun going down memory lane, by the way. Escape from New York. I mean, go to your local Blockbuster and rent that sucker, because it's a tremendous.
Go rent that. Not Kurt Russell's best work. And we need to get into also, was he really a tough guy, or was he just I don't know, a stuffed shirt? Because I wasn't really scared of Kurt Russell. I liked his city swagger. I liked his know-how. He seemed to, I had confidence he was going to make it out, but he didn't scare me, just like Bruce Ellis didn't scare me, just like Chuck Norris didn't scare me, just like Steven Seagal didn't scare me, just like Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't scare me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is the name of this game going forward. Is, you ready? Van Cleef or Van Dam?
See you tomorrow.
Later.